Come here, my little friend. Don't be afraid. I have candy. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. it's a little creepy if you just add, I have candy, to what old Ben says to R2-D2, isn't it? Gosh. Oh, man. So, here's the thing. If you have Kenobi, or if you don't have Kenobi but you're planning on getting him, you're going to have a bunch of characters geared and relic that you don't necessarily know exactly where to use. And so, I'm going to talk about that in this video on requirements, where to use them. So this isn't about Kenobi himself, though we touch on that just a little bit. We're going to be talking about places you can use them, and then I'm going to show you guys a practical example because my alternate account, Professor X, is about to unlock him. He's on the farm right now, and so I'll show you where that account, which is at 6.6 million GP, I'm going to show you guys where he's going to be using these different requirements, because frankly we want to use the whole buffalo, right? Like, we don't want to just have the Galactic Legend, we want to use the whole thing at all of the different characters, and frankly they're all very usable. Even the worst of them have at least a small amount of use. So that being said, folks, just want to remind you, if you want to support the channel for free, all you've got to do, hit that thumbs up button, leave a comment in the comments area, or hit the sub button, all three of them, and we know you like to party, so that's the only way you can prove it, though, guys, if you do all three. So if you don't like to party, then don't do any of that. That being said, let's actually get into it, folks. Let's talk about Kenobi requirements. Whoa, we're in the Kenobi requirements? Madness. How do we get in the Kenobi requirements? How can you be in that? All right, here, so some of these are gonna have, we're gonna be like double dipping a couple of these different squads. The first one is going to be General Kenobi and Mace. So, of course, General Kenobi, he's one of the best generals out there. There's a lot of generals in this game, isn't there? General Grievous, Anakin, Grievous, and Veers, and all the generals. It's generally amazing. So here's the thing, you have Relic 8 on Kenobi, and the reason I went into this screen in the first place is because he's a negotiator. As the pilot, man, this is one of the best things ever. Eventually you might want him at Relic 9. I want him at Relic 9 at this point, just because he's in a speed race with certain different characters, but he's very good, folks. I mean, he's good here. He's also good as a plug and play on like a Padme team or whatever, but by and large, General Kenobi is going to be the main tank on the Master Kenobi team. So there is that. The other piece is Mace has just recently gotten a rework, and I don't know if this is the best place for Mace. Honestly, he's going to be a good plug-and-play Jedi on a lot of different teams. He's a Galactic Republic Jedi, and all of this stuff. I mean, you probably want him at higher relics, you probably want him at better mods. I'm not even going to show you guys my frightening mods on him, because they're not good. But he goes okay on Kenobi, just because he's a second tank, and a second tank, like, well, he's a good tank, and he's also a good damage dealer, and so those two together on the Kenobi team, it's going to be good. I mean, it kind of negates all the different turn meter manipulation that Mace can do and everything, but he's an okay slot in there. Just keep in mind, he works on basically all the different Jedi teams. So, yeah, yes, he's good here. He's also going to be good in Territory Wars, though I don't know how yet. I think that Omicron's going to be good if you're into Territory Wars, if you're into such things, such filth. Alright, next up, Grand Master Yoda. He's another good plug-and-play character. Keep in mind that if he's with Jedi Master Kenobi and you're facing a team, like a General Skywalker 501st team, Grandmaster Yoda escalates the demolition of the Jedi Master Kenobi team if there's no Cat there. If Cat is in there, then it's a different story, and you just auto-pwn the Skywalker team. But if you don't have Cat, then it's not probably a good idea. They feed off of each other like crazy, though. He gives all those buffs. Grandmaster Yoda at Relic 8 was one of the more fun surprises because he can work at like really low relics, actually. But because he does a lot of damage and because he takes a lot of turns, you can actually get a lot of good use out of him. I like to put him on Jedi Revan team just because he gains so much turn meter from all of that. He also works really well with Jedi Knight Luke lead because he takes so many turns that he's going to keep that countdown on Jedi Knight Luke continually like scrolling downward a little bit, just because, you know, the Jedi Knight Luke lead is a communal cooldown, and so Grandmaster Yoda can just take 3 or 4 turns in a row and really knock that down. So, I mean, one of the biggest things, guys, don't neglect for him his basic attack, just because Yoda gains 40% turn meter. So, every time he does hit someone with over 50% health. So, I would put him with... I really like putting him with Jedi Revan. He's good with pretty much every Jedi out there, though, including Qui-Gon Jinn. Like, he's great. He's one of those great plug-and-play characters. And, frankly, he's also on the target priority list for some Galactic Legends, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so Shaak Ti, this is a kind of weird grouping here, guys, and the reason we're doing this, we're going to show you Shaak Ti, and this, it's because she goes well with all of these characters. So on a Bad Batch team, she's not going to be the lead for a Bad Batch team. She's just like a slot in instead of Omega, but it makes the Bad Batch team take extra turns because she's going to be taking turns, because whenever they take damage, she gains 20% turn meter, and that's a pretty nice thing. So goes well with Bad Batch, and if you really want to be crazy and put her as lead, then she makes really fast characters like Echo even faster, plus 35 speed on Echo. My Echo is what, 361, something like that? Yeah. So with Shaak Ti, he's what, 396 speed, which is ludicrous. All right. She goes really well with Jedi Master Luke, just because she can heal him. He's a tank, and he needs healing. And he also needs to keep away from a lot of different debuffs. She can do that really well. She's a really great slot in for Jedi Master Luke. That's generally where I use her. In fact, that's probably the biggest place. The next one is as the leader for 501st clones. I wouldn't recommend this unless you for some reason don't have Jedi General Skywalker, which sometimes you do unlock Kenobi before you unlock General Skywalker. Kind of a strange choice, but you can. That happens, and she works really great as the 501st leader. That's just not her like optimized place. And then under Padme, she also works pretty well under Padme. Padme doesn't have a way to regenerate her protection banners unless Shaak Ti is there to do her heal. So she can work with all of these guys. She's a really good plug and play character, one of the most versatile out there. Give her some speed and some health, and she's also going to be really good in PvE, helping you with all sorts of really fun things in Lightside Territory battle and even in Conquest a lot of times. Remember, her basic gives offense up to everyone on her team, and she can cleanse everyone on her team. So she can even work with like Imperial troopers to counter Lord Vader sometimes. It's very strange. She's a very good character though, and we should all be grateful that she's here. Despite the fact that she's died like 5 different times in various levels of canon. Okay, so next we have Wat Tambor. He goes with a lot of different teams as well. So first off, he goes with Sith Eternal Emperor really well. He's a good babysitter. He works with a lot of Galactic Legends as a good babysitter. He even has a few builds he works with Supreme Leader Kylo really well to be able to beat Lord Vader. He works with Jedi Master Luke to just give him, if Jedi Master Luke is slower and he has to do the mirror match, for instance, then a lot of times they'll do F-Lux on Jedi Master Luke and make it so that Luke is ability blocked for 2 turns, which spells certain doom for our heroes. With Wat, however, you put the shield tech on Luke, so Luke already has that taunt that he would have anyways if he had all Jedi on his team, but when Luke gets his turn, he can actually do an F-Lux back. He can be like, F-Lux? No, F-U. That's what he can say. But Normally, Wat goes really well with Sith Eternal Emperor more than anyone. Now, he does go with Maul really well, just because he takes a bonus turn at the start of his turn. Maul has Frenzy, and Frenzy means that whenever someone on his team uses a special, then Maul gains 100% turn meter. So Maul immediately gets a turn right after that. And if you've played the Maul team at all, he's going to he needs to take a lot of turns right away, which you can orchestrate if you have Wat on his team. You can do that with like Droideka and stuff, but it's messy. It's messier than if you use Wat. Wat makes it a lot easier. Now, Wat goes well with Wampa. This is different, though. I realize I have the Omicron here, so it's a totally different story. But if you don't have the Omicron on Wampa, then Wat makes a really good Build-A-Bear character to be able to construct a team. And that's why Kylo Ren, why Crew is here, is because he's a really good plug-and-play tank as well. You could make a really strong team with Wat, assigning his different abilities to Wampa and Crew. You guys can watch me do this kind of thing on my different alt accounts. I don't really do it on my main account that much, but you can make a really cool Build-A-Bear account and or team. And what I mean by that is he assigns that tank tech to a good tank, so that you have good resilience on the team, and so the aggro hits that character, and then you put the weapons tech on Wampa or a different character that's really good at attacking, and you can kind of just beat a lot of different pretty mid-range teams. Nothing too crazy, but you can get really good banners because you can assign the taunt, and you can assign the perma-death, the weapons tech for a character like Wampa. So, well, we're gonna have to find a new use for Wampa at some point, or a new attacker to replace Wampa at some point. But I mean, he's been my go-to, so I know that fairly outdated notion at this point, but we can move on. So, all right, Jango works really well with a lot of different factions, man. He might be the most desirable character out there. Look at all of his different tags, folks. You guys can... Okay, so leader, but he's also bounty hunter, Mandalorian, scoundrel, and separatist. So he wears a lot of different hats. If he's the leader, then he gives plus 30%, or plus 30%, gosh, plus 30 speed. He also has a thing that affects enemies, for all debuffs on bounty hunters. So if he doesn't have a lot of bounty hunters, it's a minimal effect, but it still impacts your enemies, which is also kind of like a reverse leadership in a way. So he works well as the lead for scoundrels. He also works really well as a slot into Mandalorians and scoundrel and separatists. The thing about his payout, guys, is when the leader is another separatist ally, he also gains the following payout. So he gains his payout, which is damage immunity right away. So you can actually, if you wanted to, if you're out of separatist allies, you can always, well, if you're out of separatist leaders, you can always just give him a lead like Geo Soldier if you just randomly have him available. He doesn't have to be a leader, but Jango would still get his contract under that character. Whether or not that's a wise idea, I don't know, but I've done it before. It's kind of nice. You can make kind of a good Jango nuke, but he goes well with other bounty hunters. He goes really well as the leader for a Beskar team with Kuiil, because Kuiil's already really fast, and Jango can speed him up. So that's pretty nice. Give Kuiil, instead of 550 or 350 speed, you can give Kuiil another 30 speed. 380 speed is very tough to beat. He also works really well with a Maul team as just extra DPS because he's a Mandalorian and he assists Maul all the time. And then, as we said before, he works really well on a Separatist team because he starts with his contract already there, which makes him unkillable for a couple turns. So he's in a lot of good places, guys. I almost never have a fight where I don't use Jango, though that does happen. All right, General Grievous and wow, look at that typo. Mukungna droid. Gosh, we'll just leave that though. So you need Grievous at 7, Magna Guard at 5. Slot right into a good Grievous squad here, guys. Use Newt or BB-8 or Droideka or whoever as the 5th, but this is the core team, and you don't want to mess with it. All right, Bo-Katan, Jango, and Wat. See, we're double dipping here a little bit. So here's the Maul team that I like the most. Well, no, this is the second best. So if you can afford to have Bando on the team, then that's great. You replace probably Jango, which obviously kind of defeats the purpose a little bit here. But, I mean, you get Maul, and you get, you know, Wat feeds Maul turns, and if you don't have Maul, I guess, you know, it gets a little bit trickier. Like, Bo-Katan can slot into like a Bando team, like other scoundrel teams. She can do a lot of cool stuff, actually. She can even lead a Mando team, though it's not going to be nearly as nice as if you have Maul available. And, you know, sometimes you just don't use her, too. There's also that possibility. So, I mean, this is probably the best way to show using the whole Buffalo. If you don't have Maul available, obviously she's going to be a little less useful, but she still does work. She also works with, like, Dash teams, because she's a scoundrel, and I believe she's a scoundrel anyways. Let me just make sure. Yeah, she's a scoundrel. She's a Mando. She's got the AoE Dispel, and it also dazes, so she does a lot of cool stuff. Qui-Gon Jinn team. So you can use Qui-Gon here, obviously, with his Omicron. If you don't have his Omicron, he's way less useful, frankly. He's just not nearly as useful without his Omicron. But with his Omicron, you can use, then you can get Ayla on the team, and she's kind of good insurance, because a lot of times people have plans to kill your Anakin, or they'll kill your Anakin inconveniently, but Ayla gets to stun people. If you want to turbo boost the team Ki-Adi-Mundi, keep in mind you want all Galactic Republic Jedi, and you need Jedi Anakin on the team if you want to have the most impact. Now, I've heard of people using Qui-Gon with other Jedi, you know, without even using Anakin, in fact, which is kind of an intriguing idea. I'm gonna have to try that at some point, but for now, this is the team you want him on. Alright, so, the Gidme team, this is another way to use Ayla, guys, and you guys will have to watch my Prevail Man videos to see this in full effect. I also can use it on my alt, though I rarely choose to, though now Padme's kind of freed up. We'll see how that goes. So, the idea, though, is that Moff Gideon hands every character that is a support character 100% protection up, which turns into a ton of courage for Padme, and her Galactic Republic team doesn't lose any turn meter from what Gideon does. So he reduces the enemy's cooldowns, or he reduces the enemy's turn meter, and your characters don't lose any turn meter. So you can have a team with like Ayla and R2-D2 and Cup even, and you get, you know, 25 to 30 stacks of courage, and you can one-shot characters with this comp. So it's a pretty neat comp. A lot of times I'll take a tank here instead of like Cup or R2-D2 or whatever, but all these support characters, including Padme, all get to start one-shotting characters. It's really cool how it works. Okay, so Cad Bane, he doesn't really do that much in squads, but he's a great pilot. He's the pilot of one of the best ships in the game, just because he's part of one of the best fleets in the game. So you probably want him to be higher relics than just 5 if you can afford it. Get 6 E-mods on him and move on. Now, Clone Sergeant is a decent tank, and he's like kind of a plug-and-play tank. As long as he's in reserves, he is an okay tank. Cody, on the other hand, is just not that good at all, and I would advise, for the most part, leaving him alone. The only exception being, if you just randomly have Padme, and you don't want to use Padme for anything else for some higher calling, you can put together kind of a trash Galactic Republic team. None of them can gain turn meter, so like Clone Sergeant, a lot of his abilities just can't be, like, I think is basic, yeah, so he does physical damage to target and gain 50% turn meter on a, so like mod him for crit chance. Mine is obviously not, and honestly you should probably have 6E on him as well, but it doesn't matter if he's on a Padme team, because she doesn't allow turn meter manipulation in any direction on her team. So, you know, you can kind of make a trash Padme team, a trash May, a sad May team if you want, but I don't know. Don't necessarily recommend it. So those are some suggestions. Let's go see what I do on my alt, specifically what plans I have. We'll run through that and get you out of here. Whoa, we're on my Professor X account. Madness. So, All right, here's the rundown, folks, and I'm not going to give a detailed explanation on all of these, but here are the plans. So this account only has one Galactic Legend currently. It'll have two once I'm done farming Jedi Master Kenobi. So I will eventually probably start with Mace Windu and General Kenobi on my Jedi Master Kenobi team. That's the initial thought. I'll probably get my Mace up to Relic 5 at least, and get him some good mods as long as I can figure out how to do that, which characters need it. Probably get Relic 5 on all of them, just because Kenobi really does prefer to have guys with a lot of relics on him, just like Lord Vader does. Well, maybe not exactly like, but similar. Okay, Grandmaster Yoda is going to be, in general, on my Jedi Master Luke team, because this team counters Jedi Master Kenobi, because they all Jedi Master Kenobi's team all hard target Grandmaster Yoda, and that's nice because then, like, he's tough to kill, actually, because he's got foresight, and Jedi Master Luke is a good tank and everything. You're stunning them, you're messing with them a lot, but once he finally does succumb to the sweet embrace of death, then we have Jolee to bring him back, because the only weakness, really, that Jedi Master Kenobi has is that he doesn't cause permanent death with any of his characters that accompany him. So, usually you can work around that in almost all circumstances, but Jedi Master Luke, that's the only really real way he has a chance against certain Jedi Master Kenobi builds. So having Grandmaster Yoda there takes the aggro off of these other important characters. Now, if you guys want to see me use this team to counter Jedi Master Kenobi, you can always watch me. I mean, I do it all the time. This is a pretty common counter for me. All right, next we have one option for Shaak Ti here, which is, so keep in mind, Shaak Ti will at times go with my Jedi Master Luke. I keep most of my Jedi available for offense, just so I have different options and I can, kind of just put them where they need to be. So sometimes Ki-Adi-Mundi and Shaak Ti go with Jedi Master Luke. Other times we have this Jedi build up top that necessitates the build on the bottom here with Shaak Ti, and this isn't like the most amazing comp ever. Shaak Ti in some ways is wasted with Basti, just because Basti keeps debuffs off of everyone because of all the increased tenacity, but Shaak Ti, one of her great things is an AoE cleanse on her team. So she's not the very best fit, but she can call Ki-Adi-Mundi to assist. She can give everyone offense up on her basic. She can dispel on her basic, which is actually really useful. She has that redundancy with Basti, so it kind of works well with this team. This is a kind of a backup Jedi team. It's not going to kill anything too crazy, but it can surprise some people. Now, Qui-Gon and Ayla, you guys saw that previously. Maybe take Plo just because it's easier to get him into 50% health so that Anakin takes bonus turns, etc. Now, the Bo team, right now I have her as the leader for a Mandalorian team, and that'll change because I'm also going to unlock Maul here pretty dang soon. And so once I have Maul, then we're going to do the team that I discussed previously. I don't know if Jango's going to be there specifically. I might put Bam there. I might do something else crazy. I don't know. I'm crazy like that. But one way or another, I do like Wat here, just to give that bonus turn, like I said. Really good team on defense as well. If people don't know how to deal with it, then it's very, very strong. And General Grievous with Magna Guard. There's no secret. Those two work so well together as a tandem. There's not really much reason to take them apart or to pry them apart. And then finally, just the same thing. We have pilots and Cody. So Cad, extremely useful pilot. Let me see. Do I have him all 6 E mods? Almost. We're almost there. I've been working on him. And then Clone Sergeant probably should, like I said, get 6 E mods on him as well, and get him some crit chance. And then finally Cody. You can kind of put these guys on a Padme team or whatever, but ultimately, though, this is the biggest waste. I guess the best thing you can say about Cody, really, like, he's part of the group there's like a special mission that you can use him in, but Relic 5 isn't enough to actually beat that mission, hardly ever, almost never, in fact. And so, kind of a waste. You have to waste more Relic materials to get him higher Relic, just to get that one special mission in territory battles. I don't think it's worth the expenditure, but one way or another, folks, that's what we've got. pretty good stuff. I guess the other thing I should point out, and people are going to tell me this in comments because they haven't watched this far, which is fine, but General Grievous is also a really good pilot of the Malevolence. I mean, obviously, that's one of the best ships in the game. He's really strong there as well, and the stronger he is, the stronger his summoned vultures are as well. So, yeah, you also have that. Anyways, folks, what other uses do you have for these various teams? I would love to hear you, characters. What are you using them for? I'd like to hear. So, like I said, let me know in the comments. And thank you all so much for watching. And remember that in all things, Xaereth prevails. We're going to do a video on Jedi Master Kenobi and what he can do as soon as I unlock him, so that I can show you guys how to use him without his relic, or without his ultimate, and then with his ultimate as well. Alright guys, take care.